Class, week 7, part 3. Um, so we hit Act 2 of the film. Oh, I forgot to mention Act 1 also introduces some music that goes along with Miss Gulch. That music will appear again in Act 2 and 3. Yeah, okay. So the the transition to Act 2 is fascinating. And by the way, I think it's probably pretty obvious to you. You don't need me to say this, but Act 2 begins when the movie goes into color. The moment that she opens the door and sees a world of color is Act 2. Um, so Act 2. The transition to Act 2 is fascinating. For one thing, Dorothy goes into her room, and then the house gets picked up by a tornado. And the first sort of supernatural, yeah, that's right, that's sort of, the first supernatural things that you see in the film are seen in the window of Dorothy's bedroom, right? You see some more normal things, sort of like a cow, although the cow's flying around, so that's supernatural. But you see Miss Gulch, and then she transforms into the Wicked Witch with the broom and the whole thing. It's really interesting that the first time in the film that you see something supernatural, there's nothing in the film until this transition to Act 2 that is supernatural. Mm. Okay, that's not quite. It's basically right. I'll talk about that later. There's nothing supernatural in the movie. But when you see it, it's in the window of Dorothy's screen and room. Now notice, by the way, the window in Dorothy's room is not square. It's rectangular. It's wider than it is tall. Why does that matter? Why do I give a shit about that? Because it looks like a goddamn movie screen. That essentially the first special effects we see in a movie that's shaped like a rectangle are the first special effects that Dorothy sees in a movie that's shaped like a rectangle, right? In a room, and we talked about this already with Rear Window. The way that windows are similar to movie screens, because movie screens give you a kind of window into an alternate world. And like Jeffrey in Blue Velvet, you want to see and not be seen. So it's interesting that the transition to the crazy bonkers movie world of Munchkinland, we first glimpse supernatural things in something that looks very much like a movie screen. It links us to Dorothy because we're having the same experience she's having, which is seeing crazy things out of a rectangle. Okay, cool. All right, we're doing pretty good. The color, the famous moment, and it's one of the most famous moments in all of Hollywood, is Dorothy opens the door and everything's suddenly in color. And a couple of things to talk about. Number one, saying that the movie switches from black and white, it's not black and white, it's sepia tone, to color doesn't really quite capture it. It's not, Munchkinland isn't simply in color, it's in bonkers colors. The colors are insane. It's not just like, it doesn't look like this isn't color, but it looks like realistic color. The world that Dorothy opens is as a bonkers colors. The costumes, there's no way to do this. Just go back and watch the fucking Munchkinland scene and just watch the outfits. The Munchkins the costumes are completely insane. Just one random thing I'll point out: the mayor has flowers on his shoes. That doesn't sound super dramatic until you notice that the flowers are on stems. So here's a shoe, and then there's like a stem with a flower on top. He's got two flowers like growing out of the middle, like where the laces would be on a pair of sneakers. The costumes are so fucking crazy. It brings me so much joy to watch the Munchkins and to think about the people who built all those costumes. They must have had so much fucking fun making those outfits because they are bonkers. The colors are outrageous. And this is something that often gets tossed around as an insult, but it's not an insult. And if you took 250 with me, you may remember this from Oscar Wilde. It looks fake, people will say. As if that's a bad thing. It does look fake in an interesting way. I mean, the plants, for example, are not real plants. They're like plastic plants. But everything is fake because the colors are just all over the place. Ridiculous. They're not realistic, natural colors. They're completely crazy. Nature itself is artificial, right? Because they're plastic plants. It's like you think of nature being what God made, and homes being what human beings made. But here, the plants themselves feel man-made because they're all artificial. It's because she's transitioned from a natural world where nothing supernatural or unrealistic happened into this supernatural world where everything is bonkers. And one of the ways they do that is supernatural literally means above, beyond nature. This isn't ordinary nature, it's super nature. It's more than nature, it's too much. And it's completely crazy. Okay. The other really complicated thing about the color in the film is that it is non-diegetic color. God, does that make sense? Non-diegetic color? Um, diegetic means story. Non-diegetic is outside the story. So, for example, the music in The Shining, the characters can't hear that. That's for the audience. So it's non-diegetic music. Music in Rear Window, the characters can hear all the music in Rear Window, so it's diegetic music. It's in the story. It's in the world of the story. The characters can hear it. Whereas like Jack Nicholson can't hear the spooky music. Otherwise, if you heard that spooky music going in that hotel, you run the fuck out. So they can't hear it. The color in Wizard of Oz is like that. It's really important. When Dorothy opens the door to Oz, we experience a transition from black and white to color, but it's not like I had a friend of mine whose niece, she was like a little girl, and she asked him, he's like, my age, he's like in his 40s, and his little niece was like, asking him what life was like back when the whole world was in black and white, because she had seen old movies that were in black and white, and she thought that like the world was in black and why are old movies in black and white? Because the world must have been in black and white back then. No, that is not the case. The color, the sepia toned for Act 1 and the color for Act 2, that's for us, the audience. Dorothy doesn't go, oh shit, color, right? Because she's looking at color the whole time. It's we're the ones who experience the shift from black and white to color. Obviously, she opens the door to a crazy world, but it's not like her other world had color in it. Like, it wasn't like, she can see color, but we don't get to see it. Why do they do that? It's because it's communicating. It's not fully realistic. It's communicating how she feels. When she opens the door to Oz, she feels, we're not in Kansas anymore, Toto. This is a whole other world. What a crazy place this is. How do they communicate that to the audience? By switching from black and white to color. So you go, oh, what a crazy thing this is. This is nuts. I've never seen a movie, because people at the time had not really seen movies in color before. So they were like, holy shit, that movie's in color. And Dorothy's like, holy shit, what the hell is going on here? It links us to her. It links us to her in an analogy. It's like an analogy. It's similar. But she doesn't open the door and go, holy shit, color. She opens doors and goes, holy shit, this is a whole new world. We go, holy shit, this is a whole new world of color. So the music, that's for us. That's for us, not for them. And I'll be saying more about that when we get to, I'll do it now. There's something similar in the movie too. This is, The Wizard of Oz is a musical. The first song in The Wizard of Oz, Somewhere Over the Rainbow, is particularly lovely because it seems like a song that she knows and is singing. The character, Dorothy, knows this song and sings this song maybe. Maybe if you were standing right next to her on the farm, you would hear her sing that song. Maybe. I don't know. It's confusing. But later in the movie, she starts singing songs with the Scarecrow and the Tin Man, and there's like dance steps, and they all know the words, and they sing it at the same time, even though they never rehearsed anything. And you go, then people who watch musicals and they don't like them will roll their eyes. And they'll be like, well, this is stupid. How do they all know the same song? It's non-diegetic. It's not that they're all, and I think this, it's possible that the Somewhere Over the Rainbow song is diegetic. She's actually singing that song. But later in the movie, the songs are supposed to capture, when everything freezes in a musical, and everyone does a dance number, somebody sings a big song, nobody goes, oh, hey, wow, you have a great voice. Usually, there's a lot of musicals about making a musical to make it more natural, but a lot of musicals, characters just sing. It's an expression of how they feel. They have a feeling, and the way they communicate that feeling to the audience is through singing. So that usually in a musical, when the big dance number ends and the big song where everyone's singing together, nobody's like, wow, how'd you guys come up with that whole song? Did you rehearse that? Nobody usually don't say that. Now, there's a lot of movies about rehearsals and things, but whatever. The point is that it's the music is also, the music, like the color, the music the characters sing is non-diegetic in the sense that it's not literally, it's not like they all know the same song. It's that they feel a sense of togetherness, and so they sing together. It's a way of communicating how linked they are to the audience. It is non-diegetic. And you know what, actually, let me talk about the Muppets in the next little video. I probably will. The point is it's not fully diegetic. Like the color and the songs are for us. It's a way of communicating to us. Dorothy's having a crazy experience, give it to the audience in color. Dorothy's having a big emotion, give it to the audience in the form of a song. See you in the next video.